What is happening, y'all? It is Sunday evening. We got an awesome show tonight with yet again another great project, Sister Mercy. For some reason, I kept trying to say Sister Mary. I guess it's one of those things that it's like you hear about it so much, it's ingrained in your brain. So originally, when I did the promotion for this, I didn't notice it until after I shared it out that they all said Mary. So I had to change the original. So it changed all the other ones. I was like, no, I can't believe I did that. But yeah, that's what happens. Oops. So anyway, we have a great show tonight. We got an awesome fella in here. I'm going to bring him out. We got Corey Hardiman.
Hello.
How you doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
And let's see here. We've got, I'm trying to bring the comments up. So we got Jack in here. Hello. Good evening. Thanks for joining in. And we've got Mike in here. Thank you very much for dropping. Whoops. I hate when it scrolls on me. Thanks so much for dropping that link in there. Anybody later on, if you join in this video and you don't see this link in the comments, the link is in the description as well as the Facebook page where you can find the studio. Give everybody a second to kind of roll in here. So how are you doing tonight, Corey?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, It's stressful times, everybody's going back on lockdown again.
Oh, yeah. In here, yeah.
Yeah, so like California, I seen earlier, they're going on lockdown, I guess, tonight. Southern California is. So.
Oh, wow. I've been lucky up till this point. We've been in one of the better bubbles of the world with very few cases, but we've only held out for so long. It's starting to go a little bit off the rails here, too.
Yeah, I live in Missouri, and I live like kind of an hour west of St. Louis. And, it's just gotten crazy here. Like we sit up until a month ago, like really nobody we knew had cases or knew anybody that had cases. And it was like, is this thing real? Is it not? We were still being careful because, we have a heart kit and it's like now it's blown up. Like all of our hospitals around us are at max capacity. So It's been nuts. Yeah, thanks for joining, Robert, too. Appreciate you being here. So, Sister Mercy.
Sister Mercy.
How did you come up with the idea for this book? Like, what was...
I was at work one night. I was a shipping clerk in a food distribution warehouse, and a good friend of mine messaged me. She was an artist. She knew I was a writer, and I was an aspiring novelist at the time. And she got a hold of me. She said we should work on a project together. And I just instantly said, all right, how about a nun in the desert in the apocalypse called Sister Mercy? Just kind of right out of that, just out of the blue. Just like almost like somebody put the idea in my head, right? And it just developed from there. Yeah, and the biggest addition was, a schizophrenic nun that hears the voice of God, or does she? Right? So that's the hook.
That's the hook. Nude nuns
meets Mad Max.
Nude nuns with big guns.
Arc Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah, you gotta love Thunderdome. That's a classic movie, man.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna bring up the Kickstarter here real quick. We'll kind of show that off first of all, and then we'll chat with you about. See if this thing works today. We've been having issues lately, but I think I got to the bottom of all of it.
You're using technology and not having issues. I want to know how you're doing it.
I don't know. So it's awesome. You already had 199 backers with 25 days to go, and looks like you're a little over 300% of your goal.
Yeah, it's been doing fantastic, way light years beyond our last two campaigns. Our issue 2 campaign tripled our issue 1 campaign, so it'll be interesting to see where this one ends up as well.
Yeah, it's always a lull trying to get that first one out there.
Yeah, that's always the rough one. I think too, a lot of people would like to see if you're going to commit and pull off your commitment as well the first time around. I'm also wary first backing a Kickstarter for a first-time creator as well, because you just don't know. So once you've created one, you've at least established a little bit of credibility if you fulfilled your pledges.
Yeah, well, and there's always the issue too that you get book 1 and you're like, man, this book is badass, and then you're like, I want to. I can't wait for book 2 to come out, and then like you hear crickets for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like you left me with the story. What the hell's going to happen next?
That's right.
So this is your cover A and cover B. So you got your regular and then your nude cover. They
Hmm.
both look beautiful. Artist, I guess, is there it is. Ricardo Silva and Ivan Dominguez is the colorist.
He was the colorist for those two covers. The interior colorist is Fred Marino,
Okay.
and and Ricardo Silva does all of the artwork. He's fantastic. I love Ricardo. He's one of the greatest things that came out of this comic book. Actually, was probably my friendship with him. He's more than just a hired artist. He's a fantastic person. Does amazing work.
And then you've got cover C here and cover D. You got Steph Wilson and Carrie Ann. I mean, I think Steph Wilson does the cover for pretty much everything out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like if you have a Kickstarter checklist, it should be a Steph Wilson column. Do you have your Steph Wilson cover? He does.
And then you
great
got the Mike Chrome. Yeah, he does absolutely awesome work. Steph's a fun guy. I love to dog him all the time. So
right on.
I guess he's not in here yet tonight. And guys, I see your comments. We'll get back to that. Sorry, I'm on a different page. So Robert, I don't mean to sound like I'm ignoring you. We'll get back to that. Yeah, Mike Chrome definitely always kills it. So yeah, it's a beautiful cover there.
Oh yeah, it's great.
There you go.
Definitely mature content for that. That's for sure.
So what is this image from?
That is inspired. That is the opening page. That's inspired by actually a childhood toy that I had from He-Man's and the Masters of the Universe, the Slime Pit. My favorite toy as a kid. I'm sure my mother hated it. I was so messy. And this is the opening page for issue 3. This character that you see here has been one of the minor characters that's only been in a few panels in the first 2 issues, the tank driver. I want to be careful not to say too much. I don't want to give away too many spoilers.
Oh, I totally understand. It's hard to talk about your project sometimes. And then you got a guy getting plowed down here.
Yeah, speed bumps.
Oops, what was that?
Yeah, I find one of the funner challenges is trying to keep every issue fresh and just not rehashing the same material. Still want to keep advancing the storyline while maintaining something new every page, so it's just not the same thing over and over, right?
Yeah, no, totally get it. So you've got the digital tier, so everybody, if you don't want to pay for shipping or you want to try it out, you got the digital tiers of 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely got a lot of different tiers. You got the back issues, which is awesome. I love to see that. I mean, there's only been a select few that have not offered back issues, but it's always the way to go because you definitely want to grow your audience. When people hear about it and they're like, "Man, I missed out on 1 and 2. Where can I get it?" It's like it's available on the Kickstarter. Get 1, 2, and 3.
And that's one of the great things about this new add-on feature that Kickstarter has added too. I really like that.
Yes, they couldn't have added the add-on feature at a better time.
No, that's
like,
right.
2 months ago when I started building mine, it was like just rolling out, and I was like, "Oh, what's this add-on?" And I clicked on it, thinking I could do add-ons, and like, you have to ask for permission to use this.
That's
so I was
right.
like, "All right." So I had to fill out this. It was like 5-page questionnaire. So I wrote them a novel. It was like 1,000 words long of all the reasons why they should let me use it. Like, why haven't you guys had this from the start? We need this option because we like to include cool stuff. People don't want to just buy the book; they want the artwork and prints or some cool stuff to go with it. Everybody wants to get that Steph Wilson print so they can hang it on their wall, and that circle template causes their wall to collapse.
Yeah, that's right. Got to add that, make that a whole wall of wallpaper in Steph Wilson, right?
So all the art commission tiers are sold out, I believe.
They went fast. Yeah, they were gone in probably the first 36 hours.
And then you got posters, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the artwork for this, man, I was looking through this a couple days ago. It's just absolutely astounding. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of working with some fantastic artists. That's for sure.
I mean, the color just pops on them too. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And Sanju, he does a lot of the coloring for Jesse Witchman's covers too. I mean, it's just amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. And him and Mike have worked together quite often as well. I find they make a really good team.
So definitely check out the Kickstarter, guys. You showed off a little bit of the stuff that we've got on there, and there's a lot of options to choose from. Like I said, we got digital on there. You can get all 3 issues and get caught up on it. And I'm going to get caught up on the comments here real quick. So we had, let's see, we already hit that one. Nude nuns with big guns, macho women with guns. Yep, the art tier's already sold out. That's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Chrome definitely always kills it.
Yeah, Mike's fantastic.
Let's see, Steph Wilson is why Trish Bingson allowed me to back both books. Hey, Trish has got to get her Steph Wilson fix. Like when Steph's like, "Hey, I did a cover for this," Trish is like already looking it up and like, "Hey,
that's fantastic."
Steph's an awesome dude. I did as well, Mike. I think they're both fun stories that I did back his last campaign. He got the first issue as well. Awesome. Hi, Wendy. Corey's Canadian. Andre, what's going on, buddy?
I am Canadian. Nova Scotia, Far East Canadian too.
Far East Canadian. I don't know where Andre's located at. He's one of the guys that I met on Rodney Fike's art show. They do like a Thursday night throwdown, Friday night draw, and he does like morning. Him and Sean Forney both do morning shows, and so I ran into him on there. We have a good time. Thanks a lot for joining, Andre. He's an artist as well.
Oh, fantastic.
North of Toronto, he said.
North of Toronto.
So what was your inspiration to get into writing? So you had said before when we had talked, you had some, prose that you wrote before, like you had a little bit of novel that you worked on.
It is. Well, I started writing at a very, very young age. I was writing short stories for pleasure, as I guess a lot of kids do. And I think I was 18, which was a really long time ago, and walking across a bridge which goes over in Halifax, our local city. There's a bridge that connects the 2 cities that goes over the harbor, and it was the middle of winter, and I was walking over the bridge one day, and I was just noticing how the snow covered everything, and I got the idea for a novel from that. And I thought to myself, being an avid reader, I thought there's no reason why I can't do this. So I wrote, and I stayed at it steadily, filled a couple of shoe boxes with novels that for some reason never got sent away. And then my son was born, and I spent a good portion of time after that being a full-time parent. But now he's all grown up and on the road to, he's been kicked out of the nest. And he's doing well, so no worries there.
He left, or he's been kicked out?
He left. He left. He's doing great, so I got no worries there. So now I can focus back on the comic and stuff, which is what I've done for the last few years.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, that was a lot of my issue. It's like you get into doing the stuff and you're like, hey, I really want to do it because, first starting out right, and then you're doing that. I don't know if your parents or your family members or other people told you, but it's like you start mentioning, hey, I want to write books for a living, and they're like, why don't you get a real job where you can actually make money at? Like, people don't really read books. And it's like, well, I read books. I know there's more people out there that read books. And they're like, no, you need to do a real job. And so, it's hard. It's really hard. You write these stories, and then you're like, who do I send them to? What do I do with this? And that's what's so great now, in the age we're in now, you have the opportunity to do indie publishing, and you have stuff like Kickstarter and Indiegogo where you can say, hey, I did this. It's awesome. You guys, here's a little snippet of it. Check it out. And you could, back then we didn't have social media. So
that's for sure.
Excuse me. It was really hard, even if you were an indie publisher, to try to get your name out there and say, hey, I'm writing these stories. I have this story that's already out. If you want to check out my work before, you had no way to do that. You mailed stuff in, and you waited. You're like, all right, what's the answer going to be?
Exactly.
And then you never hear anything. Or you get that denial letter. You get that denial letter saying, yeah, we looked over it and we thought it was really cool, but it's just not for us. Maybe try this place. And it's like, oh, okay.
The best part though too, when you've done it for years and you get those shoe boxes full of old materials and you start going back through it after 20 years, you realize about 95% of this is really bad. 5% of it, there's a little bit of cream on top. That's actually not that bad. So I definitely see some future comic book ideas coming out of some stuff I've done in the past. That's for sure.
What is a real job? That is the real question, Jack. A job, and that's the thing. That's what's funny. It's like, I work a regular day job, and like you said, you got family, you work a day job, you don't really have time to work on the book, so you kind of put it behind, and it's like you get that feeling behind you that just kind of nudges you saying, hey, you never really did this, and I really want to do something with this. And it's not that you look at it as a job. It's like when you do it and you enjoy doing it and you have fun and you really want people to read it and enjoy it and hear what they have to say about it and expand on that universe. It's like it's not really a job. It's like
you have to do it because you love it. You have to. If you don't love it, I think it shows, and you would stand no chance of success. It has to be a passion project.
What's going on, Mr. Ed Williams? Thanks for joining us tonight. Yes, hashtag Team Titan, hashtag inspiration. That's right. So yeah, it's definitely a struggle.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned before you had worked on issue 1, I guess 8 years ago.
It originally started at 8 years ago. That was when the first germ of the idea, the first few pieces of artwork got started. Worked on it with a really good friend of mine for about a year. Did a local Comic-Con and stuff like that, but it just sort of fizzled out and stayed dead for about 5 years until about 3 years ago, Ricardo came across the at that point dead Facebook page for Sister Mercy, and he said, "I really like this character. I would like to draw it." So I commissioned one pinup, and I was really impressed by it, and talked over with my girlfriend, and I thought, why not? And it's been full steam ahead ever since.
And how awesome is that, though? Not only, and people like look at me like I'm crazy when I talk about it. I mean, that's kind of like the what's the word I'm looking for? The perfect storm that you want to happen. You have somebody that comes across your work.
I literally used those words today when I was talking to a friend of mine online. So I also had another friend who had a lot of experience editing comic books who provided me a lot of free help. And I had said to him, between having Ricardo show up when he did, plus my other friend's work, it was a perfect storm. Those were the exact words that I used. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is, that was the thing, because, with writing my novel, I eventually want to work on a comic book. This is the origin story of my character. And, in talking about the novel, I always bring up the fact that I want to do a comic book down the line, because it's like, and everybody's like, why do you always talk about you're going to do a comic book? That's way down the road. You still got 2 more books to write. And it's like, I want somebody to come across the work and say, I love this. I want to do something with this. We should work together, because that's how you get the perfect duo. You got somebody that loves the work and that's writing it, and somebody that loves the work that's doing art. And it's like a symbiotic relationship. You get this perfect piece.
Yeah, it's a team project for sure. For sure.
It is. So it's awesome, that Ricardo just was like, happens across your page and he's like, hey, I really like this. Let's do something together,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And just a bonus that he turned out to be such a great guy, too.
Does a number might equal another number?
That's a hashtag. Almost seems like a riddle. I'm going to sit here and try to figure that out now.
Yeah. Let me get a piece of paper and work out it. And see, that's the bad thing. I'm so old school. I never look at that as, I either look at it as the pound sign or, the number sign. And
right,
so and I'm like, you said a hashtag, and I was like, hashtag. And then we got a question here. Robert Fraga asks, is the seat cover original available along with a physical copy of the book with that cover?
Is the seat cover original available along with the physical copy of that book? Yes.
I guess he's asking for the original art for cover C.
Oh, okay. No, that is not available. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
No, unfortunately, no.
Robert, if that's not what you were asking, please elaborate.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, now that you've said that, yeah, sorry.
No, it's no problem. That's a bad thing. It's like, how do we interpret?
You have to apologize for everything, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. It does every time I see it. When I see hashtags, like I think I have never used hashtags. The only reason I ever used hashtags is because Ed came up with this hashtag, and I think I've used it like 2 or 3 times. And then like I go and search hashtags because like people use them, and
Yeah.
I will literally like scroll through what people, other people that have used that hashtag, and I'm like, if only these people knew the things that this hashtag brings up. It's pretty interesting. I mean, that's almost like writing a book, That's one of the fun things is doing research. You're researching either if you're using something that's close to life for your book or your comic book, or if you're doing something that, you're trying to come up with something new and you want to make sure that nobody's used it before, and you're hitting the Googles and you're like, oh, this sounds like it'd be really good. And then you type it in and it brings up some crazy ass BDSM page. I'm just going to say it's happened. And it was totally nothing that was even close to that. It was just a cool name for the character in the book, and I was like, yeah, we're not using that because people Google this. This is going to be the first thing that comes up because this page has been on there since like 2012. So it's had way more hits than what the book is going to have. So I was like, yeah, we're not going to use that. So yeah, he said that was what he was asking. Basically, the A cover sold, but C, if you change your mind, please let me know.
I don't have it actually. I commissioned Mike for the piece, but I never actually received the original art myself. Mike kept that.
So sorry about that, Robert. Yeah, that's, sometimes, it depends on the artist that you commission art from. Sometimes they will relinquish the original, and sometimes, they will not relinquish the original unless you pay buku dollars.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, no, I totally understand on that. So, what do you have any other published works besides, Sister Mercy? Like as far as the prose goes?
No, that's it. That's the extent of my work. I won a couple of local short story contests. That's the only other small feathers I have in my cap. So no, it's kind of new to the scene in that regard. But and so many ideas for so many more though. Oh my God, I could write 6 comics right now. It's just I definitely want to expand on some of these ideas that I have for sure.
Yeah, and that's a bad thing sometimes about being a writer / creator, in any type of prose, whether it be a book or a comic book script or anything like that. It's like you have all these ideas bounce around in your head, and you're like, this is badass, because everybody has their way that they like to do storytelling, like
Absolutely.
mine's more like of an old pulp style book because I enjoyed those types of stories back in the day, like Indiana Jones, like the guys I had on with Space Oddities, they were talking about, ours is a pulp magazine. It's like Indiana Jones or, Sherlock Holmes, where you're following this journey and, you don't really know what's going to happen. It's just an adventure and you're along for the ride. Hey, Steph. I made something just for you, Steph, right here. Just for you, buddy. Just for you.
I see a lot of comments in the Facebook groups sometimes. It's how do you get an idea for a comic book? And I think to myself, how do you get an idea? How do you choose from the millions of ideas that are bouncing around in the head is probably the better way to put it.
And I think this is funnier than my comic because he used the PH. So that's the funny thing about stuff. So I had this panel for Comic Unity Online Con. And I'm like, hey, Steph, you did a cover for this book. This guy accidentally launched his book early. I'm trying to get all the artists together for the book to do a huge panel and try to boost this book because it wasn't supposed to be launched for another month. And he accidentally launched it at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And so we get on there and like the whole panel's like in shock because they thought Steph was a girl. And this Steph gets
I was too the first time I messaged them as well. I thought the same thing.
So it's great, you get the reaction when you talk to him and you find out, he's a dude, but it's even better when it's on video. It's like, here's this guy, and then Steph shows up late. So he was the last one to come in and he showed up at the bottom. So I pop him up on the screen. It was just like, oh. You don't have to fix it. It's actually really funny, Robert. It's pretty funny.
That's great.
And And then he said it had a hashtag originally, but I thought it would be funny to see if you would understand that it was a hashtag or a number, what you would actually say in the moment. Yeah, I would totally say number. Like, you're never going to get me to say hashtag. Like, that's too millennial for me. Sorry. No offense, Ed. No offense. And so, yeah, and that's the hard thing is choosing from ideas. It's like you got all these ideas bounced around in your head, and you got to choose which one's the best one, because
Exactly.
it's not really about what you like. It's like, what is hot and trendy right now? What would be the best story to start out with that people are going to look at and they're going to be like, hey, I really love this. And, you always want to start out with your best work first and then work off from that. And, that's my thing. I have all these ideas. I have several other books that I've wrote, through the years, just like you. You put them in a shoebox or you put them on a flash drive, and it's like, yeah, one day we'll get there. I got to get my name out there first, but this is good. And so it's so hard to pick ideas. Like, you sit down and you write a list, and you're like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I'm pretty sure I've got my next project in mind. I'd like to have a second one on to go along with Sister Mercy, something unrelated, just to say, but it's a matter of getting it started again. The starting part is always the hardest part.
Yes, it's very hard. Yes, Steph, sexy nuns are always trending, for sure.
That's for sure.
Sorry, it just refreshed on me on the comments. I was making sure I didn't miss anybody. So how many issues are you planning on running with Sister Mercy? Is this just going to be like a short run comic, or do you have long-term set for it?
I have to tell this first story arc would take 8 issues, and pretty sure it's going to be 8 issues. And depending upon the amount of interest, if there's still a lot of interest there, I have another idea for a much different sequel. It would be very, very different, but it would also at the same time still be a continuation of the story. But if I have to stop it at 8 issues, it's also still a good stopping point. So I'll reevaluate when I get to that point whether or not it's going to keep going or stop there.
So you do have a story arc that you're planning on doing after the 8 issues is over on this story.
Yeah, like I said, if that interest is still there to continue it, then I definitely would love to do the second story arc for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's always the fun thing too about writing stories. You never know what interest the fans are going to have in the characters. You could have this character that's on the sidelines all the time, and time will go by, and then they reappear, and then time goes by, and then they reappear, and then it's like at the end of the series, they're like, well, you get like 1,000 people going, well, what happened with so and so from this point to this point, and this point to this point? It's like, well, I guess we can write a story on that.
Yeah, that's right. Sounds like a prequel.
Yeah, it sounds like Warrior Nun on Netflix, and the comic it came from might boost the wish for Sister Mercy, I hope.
I hope so too. It's funny, I had never heard of Warrior Nun until about a week before Netflix. Sean James had done a review down in the States, and he compared it to Warrior Nun Ariella, who I had never heard of her. And then so I Googled her, and noticed there was definitely some visual similarities, but the storylines are vastly, vastly different from what I could tell. And then a week later, all of a sudden, boom, it was on Netflix. It's just like, wow, what a weird coincidence. Like, that's great. I actually haven't even watched it yet. It's on the list of many shows. It's so hard to go into any sort of other television show after watching Mandalorian, right? That's so up there compared to everything else.
Yeah, kind of like, exactly, Mike. Kind of like Wolverine was just a Hulk villain. And then he exploded. And, here we are, 70, 80 years later. And, now we got Wolverine movies and everything. And it's like, hey, this guy's no longer a villain.
Yeah. So. Sort of the same thing with Moon Knight, who's my favorite Marvel character. Started out as a villain in Werewolf by Night, and now he's got a new show coming out on Disney Plus next year. So you can be sure he'll be leading a lot of comics in Marvel here coming up soon. I think they just finished a big Avengers run with him, actually.
So were you big into comics when you were younger, or
Yeah,
did you?
Yeah, very much so. I had a older brother that was a fisherman, and he used to always buy stacks of comic books to take out to sea with him, and when he came home, he always threw them at me, right? So I immediately gravitated to Moon Knight, one of the first comic book characters I ever came across, and and I've had a love of comics ever since. It stopped around 17, 18, I grew out of comic books, and I wanted to be too cool for that, I guess. And then when my son was born, and after my son, was around 5, maybe a little bit before that, I started reading him comic books. He loved Wolverine, and it was always Wolverine comics. So I'd read him X-Men comics doing a different accent for every character, right? and that was when they did the Wolverine Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. storyline, where he was killed by the Hand and then had to be resurrected, and it went on this big vengeance killing spree. And I thought to myself, this is amazing. And shortly after that, Civil War started. So though I was just reading them to my son, it reignited my passion, and I became a full-time comic book lover again.
Well, and see, and that's the crazy thing, back when we were kids, and, even earlier than, when I was a kid, comic books were like, hey, you're a nerd. I can't believe you read these. So it was like one of those things you did in private. You're like, I read comic books.
That's right. That's right.
And you went to school and you're like, I can't tell anybody about this badass story that I just read. This story's freaking awesome. And if I tell them, then everybody's going to think I'm a nerd. And it's like now you're an idiot at school if you don't like the Marvel universe because all these movies exploded.
That's for sure.
Oh, it's insane. Back when I was a kid, they were like, oh, there's this Comic-Con going on. You'd show up, there'd be like 50, maybe 100 people there. And it's like I go to C2E2 last year, and there's like, 10,000 people there. And I'm like, holy crap, and there's like half of them are all in like full cosplay. I'm like, I just had to shake my head. I was like, man, my son was born in the perfect time because all this stuff is really big. And he loves Spider-Man, and he loves the Hulk, and he loves Wolverine, and all these comics. Every time a comic order comes in, he's like, "Ooh, Dad, what'd we get this time?"
Right,
I let him read some of them.
Yeah,
I do buy some of the, like the Donald Duck and the Mickey Farm because some of the Marvel books are a little too adult for kids.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the times have totally changed, and it's insane. And it's like you said, you stopped reading them at 18 because you're like, oh, I wanted to be too cool for that. And now it's like, now it's like, oh yeah, no, I love comic books, and everybody's cool with it.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I still had that collection that I had when I was a teenager. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'd probably be worse than mine.
I don't even know what happened to it over the years, but I'm sure it would be worth a fortune now.
Yeah, it was funny. I told the story, I guess it's probably been a couple of shows ago. So, my wife and I met in 2004. And so we've moved from probably 3 apartments, maybe 4 apartments before we bought this house back in 2008. And we've lived here until like 2000 and I guess it was the end of 16, beginning of 17. I got back into comic books. I just happened to come across an online auction. And then there was this super sweet Punisher book that, was missing from a collection. And it's like, yeah, I remembered that I was missing that book after all those years it spanned that I'd never opened those boxes of comics. And I was like, oh, I'll take that comic, Right and on. So immediately I run down the stairs and I'm like tearing the closets apart. I'm like, I know it's in one of these closets. And my wife's like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, just chill out for a second. I'm looking for my comic books. And she's like, comic books? What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh no, you'll see. I got some freaking sweet books. And so, here I am. I pull out this huge box, and like there's like 2 huge boxes, and there's probably like 2,000 or 3,000 comic books in them. And she's like, how in the hell have we moved this many times and I didn't know you had comic books? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, but would you still think I was cool when you met me if I read comic books? She's like, yeah, no, probably not. Because that was the funny thing. When we first met, she made fun of me because, I read the Harry Potter books. And so I wanted to watch the movies. I'm not a huge Harry Potter nut, but I was like, the books were pretty decent. I want to watch the movie adaptation, see if I like them better. So, of course, I guess about the time we started, we were dating. I think it wasn't the Chamber of Secrets. It was like 5 or 6 books in. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But, she's like, this is stupid. I can't believe I'm going to go watch a Harry Potter movie. And we get in there and we watch it. And then, like, I don't know, 2 months later, she reads the books. And she's like, these are awesome. When is the next movie coming out? So, like, I've totally just, like, turned her into a mega nerd. Now she's all into Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and, the Marvel movies. Every time a Marvel movie's going to come out, I'm like, I'm super excited about this. She's like, yeah, me too. And my son's super excited. So it's great, and I'm glad the times have changed. It's about time, the work got the recognition it deserved, because you get all these motion pictures that come out, these big time movies that are based off of comic books or even, some of these pros out there. And like nobody knows this book even exists. And then like the movie comes out and they're like, oh, this is based on a book. Well, maybe I'll check out the book, and it's 20 years after the book came out.
They're like, oh, Crow being a perfect example of that, something nobody had ever heard of until the movie.
What was it?
The Crow, something,
Oh, the Crow, yeah.
The average person had never heard of, and then the movie comes out, and now it's one of the most beloved graphic novels of all time.
Sorry, guys, I was pulling up the link to pop in the comments here. I will get back to the chat.
Yeah, that's right, Jack, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. You're super surprised when you were dating your wife. Did you prank her then?
The 10 sweaties following her.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, I've always pranked her. I am the worst prankster in the world. So we talked about that a little bit before the show, Mike. There's not a crossover. There may be eventually because it's a cool concept. It's a poster.
It is. It's just a crossover poster. Me and Max did back-to-back interviews and on another podcast, and it had just come up in conversation. So we both decided we'd each draw one poster. Excuse me. But the conversation has continued, so that could very well develop into another project somewhere down the road. So we've actually been speaking with a couple of different creators, and there's, we have a few things in mind. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Ooh.
Personally, myself, I would love to see a Avenger-style crossover with 6 or 7 of the femme fatale indie characters like Sister Mercy, Mary Machine Gun, a few of the other creators that we've spoken to have shown some interest. So whether or not this actually turns into something will remain to be seen. It's still in the infantile stages yet, but it's definitely something that could potentially happen.
So that is kind of a question I have too. You talked about, you left comics because you wanted to be too cool for comics, and then you got back into them when you were reading them with your son. Mm-hmm. So is there a reason why you chose to do your prose into a comic book instead of a book?
It was, pretty much it was that message I had from my friend out west who was the artist. I had never ever considered writing a comic book before. It wasn't even on the radar. And when she messaged me and she said, I draw, you write, let's do a book, and instantly Sister Mercy was born just like that. And haven't looked back. And it's been all I've wanted to do ever since. It's become a complete passion. Like I love it. I love it so much. I just want to create comic books all day.
Yeah,
there's nothing better than holding something in your, especially somebody like me who can't draw a straight line. Like I can't even draw a circle. I'm horrible. I send my artist sketches of what I want the pages to look like, and how he's able to figure them out blows my mind. I don't even know what I draw half the time, but he does. So to actually see your ideas come to life on a page like that is it's the greatest feeling in the world. Yeah,
because when you get it done in a comic book, it's like you have the scene that you write into your prose, and it's like it plays in your head, and then to see somebody take that piece and put it into a page and have I can't think of the word for it. I'm having total brain farts today.
Oh, yeah. That's all right. It's all right.
But when you see the storyboard, when you see the story, play out on the pages from box to box to box to box, I can't think of the word for that. So
right.
I'm fired.
Whatever.
Sequential art. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I was looking for. So when you see the sequential art of that and you see that scene come to life, it's just like, holy crap, that's even better than what I imagined in my mind. So that's definitely awesome. And that's really cool, that somebody inspired you to take something that you had wrote into a prose and said, hey, I really like the story. I'm going to draw, you write for it. And that's really cool. And now you're passionate about it.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things I really love that Ricardo did. I noticed right off the bat with issue 1 was he really has a grasp for the sequential art, and the panels just flow. The action flows from one to the next, right? Your mind can fill in the blanks for what you're not actually seeing. It's fantastic. hopefully this COVID business will be over eventually, and the Comic Cons will all be able to start back up again. The biggest one here in Canada, East Coast Canada, the East Coast Comic Con, was canceled last year and will probably be canceled this year because I believe March is when they usually launch. It's definitely hard to push a comic book when there's no Comic Cons to go to. That's for sure.
Yeah, and like all of ours in March, like C2E2 in Chicago, got pushed until it was supposed to be the end of March again. Because this year they did it the last week of February, which is like a huge mistake because it's cold as shit there. And at the end of March when we went last year, and I'm like the end of February because I live in St. Louis, so I'm only like 4.5 hours from Chicago, 5 if traffic's bad, and so I'm like. It's cold as shit here. We get snow and stuff. I can only imagine them being on the Great Lake and trying to go up there and it snows. I'm like, yeah, we're not going this year. And then, luckily we didn't go because there was a huge flu explosion. There was 2 waves of it that hit. And, so everybody was down with it. With Roderick, we're like, oh, we need to stay quarantined from the stuff. But, I was really bummed because I was super excited. I'm like, yeah, next year they're doing it at the end of March. We're going to go. And yeah, now it's in December. I'm like, yeah, we're definitely not going in December. Although it's been 50 to 60 degrees here. So I don't know what kind of weather they're having there, but, it may not be that bad.
Right.
But, yeah, I definitely miss the cons. But the good thing about the cons being shut down, I like to look at the good side of things.
Absolutely.
The good thing about being shut down is this is something that I wanted to do 3 years ago when I started Art Exposure. It was 2.5. It's going on 3 years ago. I started Art Exposure because I wanted to get artists. I wanted to get creators on to come on and show their stuff off. A lot of these people don't do cons. They do art. They have an art page set up. They post their art to it. They share it to a few groups. But, a lot of times people just scroll on by and they don't pay any attention to it. And so I wanted to do a page where people wanted to get to know, big time artists, small time artists, up and coming artists, to get them on there, creators, whatever, get them on there and let them talk about their work. Let's learn about who they are, who the person is behind that. What was their inspiration? What was the idea? How did, who sparked the interest into doing that? And, I feel
glad you did.
Yeah. And I feel like, now with COVID, instead of me begging people to come on and having a few shows, now people are like, hey, I got this book and I need to promote it, and I can reach out, like I reached out to you. I was like, hey, I seen stuff, did a cover for your book. Let's get on here. I don't know anything about you, but let's get on and talk about you, because I love meeting people. And that's kind of the thing that you get to do at the cons. You get to meet people. Oh, hey, you wrote this book. Now I know who you are. But it's like they sign the book and they're like, all right, next, because I got 37 people in line waiting. You don't really get the chance to talk to them. And so this opened up a whole new platform and forced a lot of artists and creators to say, hey, I need a venue to get on and show my work off. And so it's a lot of fun. Get the audience can ask whatever questions they want to ask. And we get that time that we don't get at cons.
I think that's one of the most more unexpected bonuses of being an indie creator. I didn't expect to meet so many other cool indie creators. Like I've created some Facebook friends, guys I've never met face to face, but I think the world of that are very like-minded. I actually just became friends with Jack on Facebook today. So I hate to say anything for sure yet. To answer Jack's question there, I don't know what other characters. I've talked to a couple of other creators. I've gotten varying levels of interest. So I have to kind of sit on that for a little bit. I'd hate to say somebody's character and have them decide that they don't want to be a part of it, right? So until we have a full commitment, I'm pretty sure Mary Machine Gun and Sister Mercy are two to be pretty much guaranteed. It was me and Max kind of came up with the idea, so we've just kind of bringing some other guys in since, and yeah. So once things become a bit more, this is kind of a long-term project, and if it happens at all, and but it's definitely something we're trying to seed right now, and if anything becomes more solid, we'll be sure to let everybody know.
Yeah, and that's the bad thing about
having. I'd love to be a part of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, and that's the bad thing about doing a collaboration project is it's hard to create hubbub about it because you can't really talk about it because it's like this isn't really a concrete thing. These people are like, hey, this sounds really cool, but and you get a lot of people that get busy and they're like, oh, I don't have time for it or whatever. And so you hate to mention anything. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, and especially when you get 6 or 7 creators together. I certainly wouldn't want to put words in anybody else's mouth. And we're going to have to figure out the way of how do 6 or 7 creators work together to create a comic book. What are the the many questions that are going to come with that? Who does what, and how does it break down in the end? And there's a lot of stuff to figure out when you have that many cooks in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, and that many characters in a book. How do you tie all the storylines together? And
in order to make it natural too, right? And to have a good story and not just have a magazine where bam, here's all these characters for no reason, right? You want to have an organic story so people can enjoy the characters and the story both.
Exactly. And it would be a great way to break the ice to people too, because if you have 6 or 7 creators that have a natural flow and progression of story and they fit together, it's a great way to have a promotional book that you guys can sell and people can see the different characters and hear about books they've never heard about before. So, I mean, the collaboration ideas in my mind are always something that's great because it gives each one of the creators that had a character in the book more eyes on their project or on their character.
That's right. And you have the advantage of then bringing, those 6 or 7 fan bases together where you have established creators already, right? So it will all boost each other.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of big cons around here either, Robert. So, you'd figure St. Louis is maybe Raziel goes back in time and ends up in Corey's Sister Mercy universe. Yeah, you never know. Hey, you never know. You've read the book, Jack, so you know what happens to Raziel. So you never know. That could happen again, and he gets sucked into Sister Mary's universe. You never know.
And one of the topics that has come up in our group conversation was time travel, and in order to bring everybody together, right? So it's because our characters are all going to be from vastly different worlds, so you have to sort of figure out a contest of champions or secret wars or some sort of similar type scenario, right?
Sorry, guys. StreamYard's being a butt today and just loaded like 30 comments that I didn't see. All of a sudden, it shot down. I'm like, holy crap! Everybody either commented all at once and it just overloaded StreamYard or something. So let me get caught back up here. So I was answering your question. Yeah, you'd figure in St. Louis, in our area, we'd have a ton of big cons. We don't. The last con that we had around here that I can remember that was even somewhat memorable that I didn't go to because it's a huge ripoff was WizardCon.
Oh, okay.
And it happened the week after C2E2 last year, I believe. It was like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was immediately following. And it was ridiculous. So C2E2, you bought the pass and you went. And you could do all the activities, visit all the rooms, and listen to the creators talk about their projects or new projects they're working on. They had this cool. That was right when Mortal Kombat was releasing new stuff on the video games, so like PlayStation 4 and Xbox, and they were showing off the characters and how they did the moves and how they did capture the motion of the motion actors for doing the moves and the fatalities, and you can do all this stuff at the con and it's included in your thing. So I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to go to WizardCon. It's only like a Wizard World. It's only like an hour from our house, where it was at. I was like, we could do that easy. We could drive up there, spend the day there, and then drive home. We don't have to, buy hotel accommodations and all that, which is super, super expensive. Right. Well, like the con badges were like $130, which was outrageous. I think I paid that for all 3 of the 3-day passes, or 4, of the 3-day passes for C2E2. I think I paid like, $200 for that last year. And so I was like, $100 a ticket? That's ridiculous. Well, then I started looking. They're like, oh, we have all these, cool seminars and the stuff you can go into. And this one's $30. This one's $25 to go to. So they had all these add-on packages that you had to do. Wow. Or you could buy the VIP entry. And it was like $200 something. I'm like, get the hell out of here with that. I'm like, I'm not going to this.
Yeah, that's crazy. Holy crap.
Well, and then, you get the signatures. And Wizard, World doesn't have any, they didn't have CBCS or CGC there. So even if you took books to get autographed by the creators or anything, you wanted to get it graded, to hang it on the wall or, from the artist or whatever. If you got like one of the variant covers, which, nobody buys the variant covers to read, they buy them for the cover so they can frame it or, slab it and put it up and look at it and make sure nothing ever happens to it. And, that was one of the big things too that killed it for me. I was like, nope. You're going to spend all that money, and then you got to spend, and then, we got the Wizard people that'll authenticate your signature for $45 per signature. And I'm like, dude, this sounds like the biggest cash grab I've ever heard of in my entire life. So outside of that, we have like Columbia. I think they have this little hole in the wall at a whiskey distillery. They have a con down there, which I don't want to say it is a hole in the wall because Ryan Kincaid lives in Kansas City. So, he goes to that con usually in Columbia. So, it's cool. I wanted to go visit him last year. He was there, but we didn't make it down there. And then outside of that, Kansas City has a con, but that's kind of too far for us because it's like a 3.5, 4 hour drive. So we would have to stay overnight. So, we don't really do a whole lot of big cons. If we do have one, it's super small. Let's see. I was a regular when it was in Glockland.
I went to one in Ottawa a few years ago, and at the end of we had a booth set up, me and a good friend of mine, and at the end of our row was Gillian Anderson was doing her signings. I just think I was useless for anything aside from staring at her for most of the time that I was there.
Let's see, I couldn't get enough out of it. I had to wait in line for a panel, never got into it, but was able to get into the same room for the next panel. Yeah, and that's what I get afraid of going to the bigger cons is like you get a chance to do the stuff that you want to do. That was the only nice thing about C2E2 is, McCormick Plaza is so big. Like it didn't matter what was going on where, there was always room for somebody. And if they had to, they had the room dividers where they could bust it open and make it a bigger room to accommodate more people. And a lot of the stuff was in the open too, so it made it a lot easier.
You don't have to be specific with what you want. You could say you don't have to.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't quite follow that.
I didn't either. It's all good, and it just did it again. There we go. All right. So yeah, Mike said he would read it, and then we've got.
Let's say I certainly hope it happens. It would be nice to have. All of these, like I said, 6 or 7 sexy female characters come together to fight a common villain, and the potential in there is, I think, fantastic, right? So
yeah, and all I have to say is about this comment
there, not so easy at all.
Yeah. All I have to say about your comment, Jack, is that would be. This sounds like a totally rad comics book. I mean, you got 6 or 7 femme fatales that are nude nuns and with big guns, and then you got Raziel going in there, and that just sounds like a totally rad comics book. Just saying,
The biggest problem of it all, obviously, would be just the logistics of it. It would be, but it would be so cool to pull off if it is possible.
And then, I'm sorry, guys, I'm way behind. StreamYard just was like, I'm like, oh, there's a few comments, and then it went. So Corey asked if there's any chance that you'll open up more commission slots for the commission tier.
No, I'm pretty sure that one's locked at 10. However, if there was a year in between our last 2 Kickstarters, but we've definitely accelerated the process. So I'm hoping that the issue 4 Kickstarter will be up in June. So that'll be another tier that'll come up again, and it'll probably be 10 again there as well.
And hello, Luis Torres.
Hey, Luis.
Mr. Codex Entertainment, LLC. Let's see. Everybody do comments in 30 seconds. Yeah, that's what it was like. I was like, I'm gradually going through, and all of a sudden it shot all the way down the end. And the comment that I was on was what I had to scroll all the way back up to. If you can show the other 2 Sister Mercy campaigns, at least to show bigger pictures of the other issues. Yeah, I can do that if you guys want to see it. Sister Mercy looks badass. Yes, it does. And I think it is, and jumped in on his last campaign. I was a regular one in this one too because it's a cool story.
Right on. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, before I bring up the other one, I'm going to copy this link and paste it in there again for anybody that wants to go check out Sister Mercy Book 3 with all of the prior books on there. And I'm proud of myself. I said Sister Mercy. I'm telling you, man, like I imprinted Sister Mercy in my brain, and when I did the graphic, I looked at it right after I posted it. Thank God I hadn't shared it out yet. I'd only shared it to one page and nobody had looked at it, so I hurried up and changed the graphic and then swapped it on the original post. I was like, oh yeah, whoops, this was bad. Sister Mercy. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, give me just a second, Jack. I'll pull up 1 and 2 so everybody can see the original issues. Give me just a second here, bud. Ask and thou shalt receive, maybe.
Also
I did a complete overhaul on this computer, so.
issue 1.
There we go. Issue 1. Oh, well, he's got them there too. There you go. Look at that. You can see them. Here, I gave you the full screen. Show those off again.
So here's issue 1. There's issue 2. And also there's a new variant for issue 2 as well, but I won't put those up on here.
Oh, that's cool. So is that something that's going to be offered on your store later on, or is that something that's going to be a part of the Kickstarter?
The new variants will be offered on the store later on Indie Planet also as well. Yeah. So with issue 2, the standard edition was 24 pages, but I did an extreme edition that had an extra 4 pages of content, which was the extreme content. I tried to do the same thing with issue 3. However, the storyline took 25 pages, so I had to make everything 28 pages no matter what, right? So all the comics have the same interior.
Oh man. So do you still want me to bring that up, Jack, or are you good with him showing off the issues on there? If you want me to bring it up, I can bring it up on here. It's not a problem. I got one up now. Here, we'll go ahead and share screen. I already brought it up. So we'll show it off here. Sister Mercy number 1. Share screen. Is it going to work? Oh, look at that. It works.
No, look at
that. So there you go. So there's issue 1. Rated PG-13 for Bubes.
That living and learning, looking back at it, that probably shouldn't have been there.
So there's some of the artwork from number 1. I won't play the video because it'll probably crash the computer.
Oh, I'm just looking at the cover for issue 1 now. Yes, I did upgrade that. It does say rated R on there. Okay, that was an older picture.
So there's some of the art for number 1, and here we'll bring up number 2 real quick. Go back 1. You can do it. That's not what I wanted to do.
That's number 3.
Shame. You have brought shame to us. Well, I went to the page that showed. I don't know why it skipped the page in between. It had the page that had 1 and 2 on it. So I was like, oh, I'll just go back and click on 2. But no, it wants to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, our freaking internet has been crap here. Charter completely crashed.
Oh wow!
Over the I think it was Thursday. It was either Thursday night or Friday night. My wife was pissed because she went to bring up Netflix like she does every night while I'm watching the live shows and stuff. And she's like, "Oh man, our internet's been out." So our internet was out like Thursday, part of Friday, and then it came back on. And today it's crashed like 3 or 4 times. I was watching a live video this morning. Thank God when I got on the live with Meredith and Rob Anderson, I was like, I don't know how long we'll be in here, guys, because our internet's been out all morning. So there you go. There's Sister Mercy Chapter 2. So there's some of the artwork from that. Come on. You can load. And then there you go.
I love
there's
that
the cover for book 2.
Still love that
yeah,
cover.
it's
one of my
absolutely
favorite
beautiful.
pictures.
Rated R. So there you go, Jack. Took care of you, buddy. So yeah, definitely love the project. It looks awesome. Love the artwork. I mean, like I said before, the color in it is absolutely beautiful. And it's really cool, you know, that's the story behind it all. You know, you had this idea. So that was one of the questions I wanted to touch on earlier, and I got derailed with the comments. So, how did she see the pros for this? Was this something that you had posted up, or because you said she reached out and said, "Hey, I'm going to write. You write, and I'll draw for it." Uh-oh, I think I lost audio.
Whoops.
All right, I can hear you now.
Well, we were friends. We grew up in the same area, originally, and she had moved out west. Well, I shouldn't say friends, more of acquaintances. We had the same circle of friends, and she was aware of. Oh, you're slow. Okay, yeah. We were friends, well, more of acquaintances than friends, and uh, she had known that I was a writer and she was an artist, and just reached out, just through similar people. We had been friends on Facebook, and I was sharing a whole bunch of Moon Knight pictures. Actually, she didn't know who he was, and she asked me about Moon Knight, which got the conversation started on comics, which eventually led to Sister Mercy.
That's awesome. What's going on there? The audio. Yeah, you bugged out for a minute. I don't know if it's a connection on your end or if it's my connection. I don't know what happened. It may have been me bringing up the Kickstarter, but I heard you finally.
I don't know if it's my internet or yours, but that haul you just took off of that was an ultra slow motion, and it looked hilarious. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's the problem too. Everybody's been. Yeah, I'm still here. That's the problem too. Everybody's been on the internet, so it's that's the other thing. Everybody's at home using the internet, so yeah, it makes for a fun conversation sometimes.
There we go. I think you might have cut it out there for a minute.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Can everybody hear me?
It could possibly be my end too.
Okay. Jack, can you guys hear me, or is it his end? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, Facebook did not want Corey to talk. Yeah, it must be on your end, because I'm like, hello. And you were moving in super slow motion too, and we're like, is it him or is it me?
Okay.
Oh, you can hear me. Good. Okay, good, Jack. I was like, man, I have technical difficulties all the time, so I'm like, it could possibly be me. So yeah, no, we did eventually hear you. It came through.
I tried to play NHL 21 on my Xbox, and it crashed more often than not.
Oh, I hear you. Well, and that's the problem. Everybody's home. Everybody's streaming Netflix, and so we all
clears a bell now. You were gone there for a minute or so, a few seconds at least.
Yeah, and so everybody's sharing the internet off the box, and it's just like all of a sudden your connection goes from way up here down to here, and you got all the gamers too streaming. So no, I definitely can you hear me now. Verizon just called and said you're hired. Oh man. So no, man, it was definitely cool having you on. It was definitely cool hearing the inspiration behind that. It's awesome. You had all these pros locked away in a box, and over the years.
Okay. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it was mine. There's a storm outside in our
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it on my side, Jack. Somehow we're
right
out
on.
of sync. Hey Jack, or hey Corey, if you want to try echoing out and coming back in and see if that resyncs you before we end the show. I apologize.
Oh,
get out of here, Lewis. For once, it's not my fault, Lewis. For once, it's not my fault. See, we're perfectly good here. He'll be back in a second. We'll try reloading it. It could just be StreamYard. He is in Canada. America's had. So, maybe they put a blockade up on the internet connection. You never know. So, no, that was what was funny about Saturday and Steph and Carrie when they got off and they were talking about expired currency and he tried to trade it in. They said it was expired. I had a good laugh with that because, all of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, they're gone. And I was like, yep, Steph must have paid for his AOL minutes with expired currency. All right, we're back.
There we go. Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Very good. I don't know what happened. We got out of sync somehow. Everybody could hear me, and then you were stuttering really bad. And so we heard part of the story
okay.
about how she got a hold of the pros and was able to. We got the gist of it though. You guys were acquaintances. You guys started talking about the stuff, and then you started talking about comic books, and it was born. So Lewis is not blaming you; he's blaming stuff.
Right on.
We were having a good laugh. They were blaming me that Steph forgot to reload my AOL minutes because they always give me crap. They call me freeze frame with AOL because this makes no sense, right? So I have a computer.
Right on.
I got a computer that's like 3 years old, and this Chromebook's he's gone again. No, it's not my compact computer. I am on an Apple iPad. Thank you very much. So I'm on the iPad here. I'm on the phone here. And I'm on the computer here. The Chromebook. See? Somewhere it says Chromebook. Yeah. From like 2010. So no, it's not a compact. Get out of here, stuff. Nobody buys compact. They suck. This floppy disk drive. Hey. I don't have pants on, so it could be acting up. You never know, stuff. Looking at those Steph Wilson covers. All right, Corey's back again. All right, are you good? They don't make IMAX anymore.
Hello?
All right, you here? Can you hear me? I can hear you. I heard you say hello. So we'll go ahead and pretend that you can hear everything that's going on and
yeah.
So we'll go ahead and close out the show. I know you're having issues on your end. It's not a big deal. No big deal. I really appreciate you being on the show. You guys definitely need to check out this project. Check out the previous issues. Jack's read it. Jack's got the prior issues on there. He says it's really good, and I take his word for it. He's got good taste. And so hit Control-Alt-Delete. Get out of here. If I hit Control-Alt-Delete and this computer shuts down, I'm on the iPad. There is no Control-Alt-Delete on the iPad stuff. I'm streaming from multiple devices here, so we got this covered. Yeah, I am the World Wide Web. Saturday, showing off those systems seems to crash the internet. Yeah, I guess so.
I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. I'm sorry that we're having technical issues here at the end. Like I said, I really appreciate you being on. It's great to hear the inspiration that your friend brought in. That she was like, "Hey, I'm going to draw for this. You write this," and then here it is. After 8 years, you have this incredible book on there, and you're funded in 5 days. So congratulations. So, have a great night, buddy. Thanks a lot for being here. Good luck with the project, and I'll definitely be sharing it out. It's the dial-up moment. Have a good night, buddy. So he gets at least that's what Jack says. Reboot the dial-up modem. Well, it definitely was a good attempt at a show with no problems, but have a good night, anyone I don't see after this. Yeah, so we had a great show tonight. It's been the last few shows have been really good. I kind of hijacked my wife's iPad, so I've been streaming with the iPad so I can share on my phone because Facebook on the computer sucks and Facebook on the phone sucks still because for some reason. So back when I started the page, I've been doing these videos for like 8 months now, I've always been able to hit share and then go ding, 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 and go down the list and just hit share whenever I go live. Well, now when I go live, as you guys can see, they took away my share button. It's there now. They just appeared the last show that I did when I did Blue Balls reviews on Saturday. So I clicked it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And all it does is let me write, post, and share it to my. Well, you guys can't see it because so this is why Facebook sucks. So they only allow me to write, post, and share it to my newsfeed or copy the link and send it to people in Messenger. So I was like, what kind of crap is that? You give me the share tab back and give me the hope that I'm going to be able to share this out like I used to. And so, yeah, no. So now I have to share it. The only way that I can share it now is by exiting out of the video and scrolling down all the way through all this crap and sharing it from here. So I can only share it outside the video and not while the video is going on my phone. I have to share it from here to be able to share it out. So, yeah. Thanks a lot, Facebook. You suck. So anyway, we had a great show tonight. Awesome project. It was really great listening to Corey talk about, his prose and, how he always wrote from a kid and, aspired to one day write stuff. He sent stuff in, and that's the thing, times have really changed with comic books. Times have really changed with prose. You got ebooks now, which I'm sorry, I hate ebooks. I'm really not down with them. I hate reading my own book on my phone and doing all that stuff, or even on the computer. I'm old school. I like paper. I like smelling the fresh ink and that adhesive chemicals in the book. You get you can't describe the new book smell when you buy a new book. And yes, I know they take up space, but it's awesome to be able to just like pull it out whenever you want because you get like if you're like Steph and all your ebooks are on your compact and it won't load up, or you forget to pay your AOL minutes and you can't re-download it from Amazon, Audible, or anything like that. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Let's see, you should start having people a week before your show select to watch the show and keep posting it every day. So if anybody misses it. So let's see, Robert, you know me well. You didn't even have to hear me say it. So yeah, guys, thanks a lot for being here. Check out the book. Check out Sister Mercy. I'll pop the book link in there one more time for you. For anybody watching that back, like I said, it was great to hear his story. It's really cool, and there's a lot of people out there that have an awesome project, something they've been working on their whole life, something that they've locked away. If you talk to somebody and they say, "Hey, oh yeah, you like comic books. So yeah, I got this idea that I had 10 years ago that I wrote, and I just was like, yeah, this is never going to be anything. It's too hard. Try to be that light. Try to be the inspiration to push that person. If somebody wants to give up, be like, nah, don't give up on it. Try something else. Let's do this. That's what I try to do with this show. You guys know I've had a shit year with everything between the whole cancer deal and then the car wreck in March, and one thing after another this year. And I want to inspire people to never give up. It's like the Kickstarter. If the Kickstarter fails, I'm not going to stop pushing Zen on Night Titan. We're going to fund the book. We're going to find a way to do it. And, we're going to find the way to do it right. And it'll get in everybody's hands when it gets a chance. And I'm super excited about doing this. It's been a 10-year journey. It's great. If you guys would, please share out the link for Zen on Night Titan. Show it some love. And do the same for Sister Mercy. Get the link, share it out there, put it on your page, plaster it everywhere. Because every one of these Kickstarters is somebody's dream. And whether or not it's up your alley on something that you would want to read, one of your friends might. It might be up their alley. And, if you share it out and 7 of your friends back, and then they share it out and 7 of their friends back, that's how we get stuff done. So please, as always, like I say, share, share, share. Get it out there. Help spread the word and show everything some love. So I will see you guys Saturday with another Blue Balls review. Or no, yeah. Well, no, it's Sunday. Yeah, see, I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's been crazy. So Tuesday, I don't have anything lined up yet. If I'm not able to line up another project, because there's not very much going on right now. I messaged a few people and I haven't heard back from them. So maybe we'll just do another Q&A show on Tuesday. I'll just drop in and we'll have a BS show because there's really nothing else going on Tuesday. We'll talk about Night Titan a little bit, share some cool stuff that I'm working on with book 2 and stuff like that. So, and then Saturday we will have Blue Balls Reviews episode 4. And we'll be talking about Codex Entertainment LLC. We will have Whispers of Necropolis, Lily the Demoness 1 through 4, and Ace and Starlet, and we'll talk about those a little bit. So I appreciate y'all being here. Love you guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. As always, Rust Explode Studios, projects that'll blow your mind. Everyone have a great week. Be safe. I'll see you Tuesday.